I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and welcome to our podcast, For the Health of It, episode 70. Remember to subscribe to our podcasts, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well.
The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice, and it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Discuss this information with your own physician or healthcare provider to determine what is right for you.
Are you suffering needlessly? Dr. Joe can give you advice on how to naturally get well and stay well. Dr. Joe Esposito.
We're talking about fake health foods, things that you think are healthy, well, maybe you do, but they're not. And so I'm trying to kind of expose this information to you so you can make better choices. And that's what it's all about, is just making better choices. It's not hard, it's easy. My rule on food is this: you have to eat anyway. Why not eat good food? It's pretty simple, right? So we talked, if you miss some of the show, by the way, you can always go to my website, drjoe.com. We have well over 1,000 hours, I don't know how much we have now, it's well past that, of audio and video podcasts. And if you have a podcast service, look for the Health of It. That's the name of the podcast on the podcast services, and you can get it there too. And then you can binge listen. Isn't that cool? Because so many people say to me, Dr. Joe, I listen to your podcast constantly. And it's funny, and many times it's not people I would expect to be podcast listeners. We have folks that are a little older, like myself, who may not be as hip and cool to technology. We have really young kids, which is really interesting because normally health shows, that's not something that interests younger generation, but we have a huge following of the younger generation, and they love it. So if you want to get on board, be like one of the cool kids, you can go to my website, drjoe.com, listen to the podcast, or if you have a podcast service, For the Health of It. So let's continue on with foods, fake health foods, sugar-free foods. If I had to pick one thing that I can teach you, it's artificial sweetener needs to be out of your diet. And the reason is this. Aspartame, that's a real popular artificial sweetener, breaks down to three components: aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters. Aspartic acid is an excitotoxin to the brain. It causes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to. And can actually, just like glutamic acid, we talked about that earlier, monosodium glutamate, it can actually have adverse effects on the brain. And so a lot of people get headaches from artificial sweetener. They can have the brain firing faster than it's supposed to and cause neurological issues. Big issue. It also breaks down to phenylalanine, which if you have a condition called phenylketonuria, you can't process phenylalanine. It's an amino acid, and that can cause a problem. And then it breaks down to methyl esters. Now, methyl esters is methanol. Methanol is wood alcohol. And this is an interesting little story. I'm going to go on a side note here. I was dating a gal a couple of years ago, and she came to me after a few months we were dating and confessed that she was a recovering alcoholic. And I'm fine with that. That's good for you for recovering. And she asked me to go to an AA meeting. And I thought, okay, I'll go. Didn't realize that you don't take outsiders to an AA meeting on a regular basis. So I walked into the meeting. First of all, I saw 5 patients there. 30, 35? Anyway, I saw a bunch of patients there. And of course, they wanted to know what I was doing at the AA meeting. But I saw a couple of celebrities there. Of course, you take a vow, you can't say who they are, but I was really surprised. People you'd never expect to be in AA. And we chatted for a while, and then I started noticing that skinny people at the meeting were drinking diet sodas, and I couldn't figure out why. So it kind of got me on my quest to find out why so many skinny people drinking diet sodas. Why not regular sodas? If you're doing it for the caffeine, do the regular sodas. They were drinking coffee, too. And I realized that methyl esters is methanol, and methanol is wood alcohol. So they were drinking very small amounts of alcohol every time they had a diet soda. And many of you may be or know somebody who's a recovering alcoholic, and a lot of them drink artificial sweeteners. That's why. And so I went to the AA director and I said, listen, I need to talk. I need to talk to you the people at the meetings to tell them what's going on. He said, well, you can't speak at an AA meeting because you're not an alcoholic. Well, I rolled my eyes probably like you just did too. And said, so I have to be an alcoholic so I can become a recovering alcoholic so I can teach alcoholics. It made no sense to me, and I never got to speak. But here's my chance. I have a public forum now. So be careful with artificial sweeteners. I'm not a big fan of them at all. So you're thinking to yourself, well, it's a no-brainer, I'm going to do this. But studies have shown that if you do artificial sweeteners, chances are you're going to eat more sugars later on. And people that use artificial sweeteners oftentimes gain weight, not lose weight. So why are we doing the artificial sweeteners then? Now, good news is that more recently, I like to think I helped lead this charge here, is there's a sweetener on the market called stevia. Now, stevia is a sweetener, comes from a plant. It's 300 times sweeter than regular sugar, has no side effects, has over 70 different nutrients in it. Now, don't take it as a supplement, but small amounts of nutrients. And if you ever go to a gardening store or one of the big box stores, in the spring, when they have the plants out, they now sell stevia plants. And look for it. It's got little leaves about the size of your pinky fingernail is the leaves. Look around. If nobody's watching, take a leaf and chew on it. You'll be amazed how sweet it is. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that much sweetness came out of this little leaf. And so stevia is one of my favorite sweeteners now. Again, use it in moderation. You don't want to douse it with everything. But you can use stevia. And the good news is if you like soda, we now have stevia-sweetened sodas. And that's become very popular. And a lot of the big soda companies now have subsidiaries that actually produce stevia. And I won't use brand names on the air, but two of the major stevia sweeteners that you probably have heard of are owned by the two big soda companies. Interesting. I remember years ago, one of the big soda companies asked me to be a speaker. And they said, Dr. Joe, you're the #1 health and wellness motivational speaker in the world. We'd love to have you come in and speak to our company. And I said to the lady on the phone, I said, did you dial the right number? You know who I am? You want me speaking to a soda company? And she said, no, absolutely. You're #1, man. You're the best in the world, and we want you. So I went there, and I went into research and development, and I said to them a couple of years ago, I said, why are you not using stevia as a sweetener? I had all my research, and I was ready to argue with the research and development. And they said to me, we don't have enough stevia in the world to meet our needs. That was not the answer I expected. Years later, fast forward, now there is enough stevia in the world to meet soda companies' needs, and that's why you're seeing a lot of countries segue out of the artificial sweeteners and use stevia in their sodas. Hasn't gotten to the U.S. yet, but it will. I'm going to put that in the Dr. Joe Predicts column, and then I'll move over to the Dr. Joe is Right column soon enough. That's a pretty big column, the Dr. Joe is Right column, by the way. So sugar-free foods, be really, really careful with it. If using sucralose, that's a chlorinated hydrocarbon. We take sugar, go through a 5-step process, add chlorine to it, and that can stimulate your estrogen receptor sites. So be really careful with chlorinated hydrocarbons because it can kind of throw off your hormone balance a little bit. I'm not happy with that. So stevia would be a good choice. Some foods are cut with maltodextrin. Some stevia is cut with maltodextrin because stevia by itself is so unbelievably sweet. So they'll use a maltodextrin. That's a corn derivative usually. And if they're using a genetically modified corn, not happy with that either. So if you can, try to do organic, the organic corn, the organic maltodextrin, that would be a much better choice. All right, let's talk about enhanced water because this is a biggie. People say, I got the vitamin water, Dr. Joe. It's usually just expensive, and it doesn't really do a lot. And some of them use artificial sweeteners, kind of segueing out of the artificial sweeteners. So just be careful with that. If you want to drink water, that's fine. I think it's great. I like reverse osmosis water. Distilled water would be the best. Reverse osmosis water is the next best choice. But here's the thing with those. They're not practical. I mean, how many people have a distiller in their house and can distill water and drink it? It's a little impractical. Reverse osmosis, usually a pretty big filter. It's got to go through a several-step process. A lot of water is wasted on that. You can get really good whole house filters. They're not cheap. It'll cost you a couple $1,000 usually. But a good whole house filter that's going to filter out the chlorine, the fluorine, any chemicals, that's what I would recommend. That's what I have in my house. And the reason is that it's not just the water you drink. If you take a hot shower, your pores open up, and you absorb the same amount of chlorine as 8 glasses of water. And chlorine it's great. It keeps the water clean. It keeps it free of pathogens. However, chlorine in concentration in the body gets into the colon and can act like an antibiotic and kill off the good bacteria. We don't want to kill good bacteria. So I would advise that you do filter out the chlorine. The fluoride, of course, we've talked about this in the past. It can affect your thyroid. It's a haloid. And when haloids get in your body, haloids look like iodine. They're the same family as iodine. They can block up your thyroid and prevent you from absorbing iodine properly. Oh, so it can have an adverse effect on your thyroid. So get a good filter. I strongly recommend that. I think it's a good idea. A lot of times they have 0 calories. They have up to 125 calories. And many times they may use synthetic supplements. Now, if you've heard me do my talks on supplements, I'm not a big fan of synthetic supplements. I like whole food, non-synthetic supplements. Now, whole food means it's as little processed as possible. I have 2 supplements, Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I take those every day. Now, on busy days, if I'm doing a bunch of radio shows or TV shows or lectures or flying, I see a lot of patients, I will go ahead and take a double dose. I'll have some in the morning, some in the afternoon. It's 2 powder. There's scoops. I take a scoop of each. They're powders. Mix it up with some coconut milk, ramen milk. Drink it. The minimum amount of nutrients you should get every day. relatively inexpensive. They taste great. If you want a vitamin water, just drink that. And it also has a complete multivitamin in it, non-synthetic supplements in there, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, like I said, complete multivitamin, good source of omega-3 fatty acids, has iodine in it. Most of us are deficient in iodine. So it's a real simple, easy fix, and it's on the website, drjoe.com. If you can eat solid foods, you can take it. For children, small children just getting into solid foods, you may not use a whole scoop, maybe use a quarter scoop. You can mix it with coconut milk, frozen banana, make ice cream with it. Unbelievable when you get kids, the jump start of giving them a good diet and good nutrition. It's just incredible what happens. And you'll be so happy that you made that choice. So the supplements are on, and a bunch of other supplements too there. I'm just talking about Super Greens and Essential Source today. Those are on the website. Let's talk about milk, cow's milk. And it's funny, there's a lawsuit actually going on that the dairy farmers are saying you can't call things like almond milk and coconut milk because it's not milk. We have milk. And I thought, okay, well, it's a good argument. But here's the other thing too, and I believe in capitalism. I think everybody should make a living. But what's happening is dairy sales are plummeting. Cheese, dairy products are plummeting, and a lot of farmers are going out of business, or they have this surplus milk that the government is buying from them. So the government is subsidizing it to produce something that we're not using, which I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm not a dairy farmer either. I'm not trying to pick on dairy farmers. I support everyone doing their profession. But the desire for milk is dropping. And the rise in almond milk and coconut milk and hemp milk is just skyrocketing. So I'm really pleased to see that. And here's the thing, too. I'm not going to play devil's advocate. If you're going to do almond milk, it's not a lot of almonds in there. Maybe just a few almonds are in every little container of almond milk. It's not a health food. It's just a good substitute for something that I'm not a fan of, that I don't think is good for you, which would be animal milk. So that's what I use. I like coconut milk, too. People always say to me, which one do you use? I say the one that's on sale. It's a pretty easy decision for me. I like them both, coconut milk, almond milk, hemp milk, cashew milk they have. What else? Soy milk. Not a big fan of soy milk. Maybe hard to digest. Soybeans can be a little hard to digest sometimes. But there's so many other options right now that the milk's changing. But here's the thing. 2% milk sounds better than whole milk, right? It's got to be 2%. It's 2% of milk, right? Well, not really. Whole milk has 3.25% fat. Reduced fat is 2%. So how much is that? That's only less than half the fat of whole milk would be reduced fat milk. So it's really not a whole lot. And people think, well, it's only 2%. That's great. Well, whole milk is only 3.25%. So it's a little bit of change. 150 calories in whole milk, 130 calories in 2%. Really not that big a deal. I don't drink milk, but if I was going to drink milk, I'd drink the whole milk. From what I remember, it's been a long time, it tastes better. And then skim milk is non-fat, 80 calories. So just be careful with that. Make sure you make better choices when it comes to your milks. A lot of people have digestive issues with milk. Number one food allergen is dairy. Number two food allergen is wheat. So what I tell people when they have allergy issues, skin issues, a lot of times skin issues are related to the liver, which can be related to the diet. I said, let's try this. Let's cut out wheat and let's cut out dairy products. Give me 2 months. Give me 8 weeks. See what happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I blew it. But if I'm right, which I usually am, then you can make your decision. And almost everyone, I don't think I've ever had anyone in 34 years I've been in practice come back and tell me anything differently. Dr. Joe, it's amazing. I feel so much better when I gave up my wheat and my dairy products. I can't tell you thank you, thank you, thank you. And people lose weight, and they feel better, and they have more energy, and their love life improves. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? It didn't cost you anything. You gave an experiment. You proved me wrong. But I doubt you will. But give it a shot. And if you want to go back to your old ways, you can. And here's the other thing, too. When people go back to their old ways, they say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how good I was feeling. When people start taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and then they come off it. Either they forget to reorder, and you can reorder. You can put it on automatic reorder right on the website. You save a couple of bucks, too. And just put it on automatic reorder, and this way you know you're taking it. If you're not taking it, another shipment comes in. Oh, I forgot to take it. And if they start taking it and then stop, and then they come back and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how good I felt. Same thing with chiropractic care. I see that all the time. Patients come in, they start feeling better, life gets in the way, they start missing appointments. A couple of weeks, a couple of months, sometimes a couple of years later, they come back in and go, oh my gosh, Dr. Joe, I didn't realize how great I felt when I was under chiropractic care. Not only was my acute pain gone, headaches, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, but I just had more energy and my body felt better. I was looser and I slept better. I was better at work. A lot of athletes They don't use chiropractic care for pain, they use it for performance. Because if their body is lined up and working better, they're going to perform better. So why shouldn't you have that benefit? So that's the thing, when you start cutting things out, the bad stuff, like milk, and then put it back in, you'll see how bad you feel. When you start cutting out the good stuff, you start to feel bad again. And you'll say, wow, you were absolutely right. I'm not lying to you. I have no benefit to lie to you. So if you want to get healthy, I recommend a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. Not hard to do. If you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Go to my website, drjoe.com, and we'll set you up a time to come see us, and we'll see if it's something we can help. If you have a condition, acid reflux, heartburn, neck pain, back pain, you ever been in a car accident, the sooner you get to us, the better. Trust me on this one. If the car was damaged, you were damaged. That's undeniable fact in my offices. Come see us. We'll get you set up as soon as possible. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring your kids. Because kids, if they're straight, they grow straight. If they're crooked, they grow crooked. It's not hard to figure that one out. But you can set up an appointment right away, drjoe.com, and you can do it online or call us, and we'd love to get you set up as soon as possible. The supplements we talk about is a bunch of other supplements, B vitamins, digestive enzymes, a wellness booster, which helps keep your immune system strong, a seasonal tonic. I take that if I start getting a little hint of a cold or a flu. In fact, one of my secretaries just came the other day, and she said, Dr. Joe, you saved me the other day again. And I said, I wasn't even here. I was out of town lecturing. What happened? And she said, I started feeling a little scratchy throat. I was taking the wellness booster, and then I started taking the seasonal tonic. She goes, within a day, perfectly fine. And she's an interesting case. She has cystic fibrosis, and she had a lung transplant. So she's got to be real careful not to get sick. And so she says, all my life, ever since my lung transplant, I would get sick. I'd be wiped out for weeks. She goes, now, solve the problem. But anyway, all the supplements are on the website, drjoe.com. If you have any questions, you can always send them to me through the website. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And if you're not within the Atlanta area where my offices are, we could always do a phone consultation, or we can do a Skype consultation if we need to. But again, drjoe.com. So much to cover. All right, this gets me. When I was a kid, I didn't see these fancy coffee drinks. They didn't exist. And then suddenly they popped up. And every now and then you see one. Now, of course, there's fancy coffee shops. I think in New York City, I saw 2 right across the street from each other, or 3, whatever. It was crazy. And you, the general public, are spending a ton of money on it. Good for those companies. Capitalism at its finest. But make better choices. Let's assume you can do a milk latte. I know it's tempting. You choose reduced fat milk, and you're going to reward yourself because you used the reduced fat milk. Remember, we just talked about that. It's really not a big difference. And then you put whipped cream on top. Santa Maria, you don't listen. That trade-off, even if you do that, adds about 580 calories and 15 grams of saturated fats to a 20-ounce white chocolate mocha. Wow. Once again, 1,500 calories a day, 2,000 calories a day of quality calories is all you need. And you're knocking out 580 in a coffee. That's not a meal. It's not going to fill you up. It doesn't have any nutrients in it, really, so you're not going to feel full. So you got to be careful with that. Just so you know, that's more than a quarter pounder with cheese. You say, I'm not going to eat a quarter pounder with cheese, Dr. Joe. That's horrible. That's junk food. I'm going to have my whipped cream topped reduced fat milk latte. Going to be an issue. Now, if you're trying to come off your coffee, I think you should, by the way. It's one of what I call my 7 deadly sins. I negotiate, by the way, if you watch that video on my website, drjoe.com, we talk about the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. I know that's your whole diet. Don't yell at me. I have answers. And then I negotiate each one of them with you. So if you listen to the video, watch the video, and you can see it there. And I negotiate each one with you. So if you're going to do coffee and you want to come off the coffee, number one, coffee is an acid. And when you put a lot of acid in your body uses calcium and other minerals to neutralize the acid. So you got to be careful with that. Also, a lot of commercial coffees are sprayed with pesticides. So you might want to consider going to an organic coffee if you can. So here's a step down, how to get off coffee. And in my first book, Eating Right for the Health of It, we have a chapter on kicking the habit, how to get off the coffee. Here's how we do it. Go from coffee, whatever you're drinking, try to do decaf. Try to organic, regular to organic decaf. It still has caffeine in it, by the way. If you don't know what the term decaf means less caffeine than the original. Can't make it any easier than that, can we? So if your original has a lot of caffeine in it, and we take some out, we call it decaf. So a lot of these fancy schmancy coffee shops that you go to, the decaf has less caffeine than the regular, but the regular already had a supercharge of caffeine to begin with. That's why it tastes so good. If you truly took all the caffeine out of a coffee, it'd have no flavor. So you have to have some some caffeine left in the decaf. So if you go from regular to decaf, that's a very good choice. Organic, of course. If you can't do that, because what happens is caffeine gets into your brain, and caffeine looks like a chemical in your brain called adenosine. Adenosine is a chemical that's released in your brain. It's absorbed by your brain at a place called adenosine receptor sites, and it makes you tired. This is why you get tired. Adenosine released, adenosine receptor site absorb it, you start to get tired. Caffeine blocks up your adenosine receptor sites. So now you can't absorb the adenosine, and so not only does it stimulate your nervous system, it prevents you from getting tired. That's why coffee gives you a rush. But your brain is smarter than you. You start doing coffee, blocking up the adenosine receptor sites, the brain says, wait a minute, I got to rest. What can I do? I'm going to produce more adenosine receptor sites. So then you need more coffee. So what happened was you started with 1 cup of coffee, then you need 2, then you need 4, then you need 6. Your body's fighting you. Your body's trying to absorb adenosine to get tired, and you're saying, no, I'm going to block up adenosine receptor sites. It goes back and forth. So to come off coffee, when you stop it, that's one of the reasons you get a headache. In my first book, I want you to put a cup of coffee in front of you, organic, plain old coffee, no cream, no sugar, no lattes, and take 1 tablespoon every hour. If you're really addicted, you might need 2 tablespoons. That's going to give you just enough caffeine to allow the body to start to heal, the brain to start to heal with the adenosine. And then after about 3 or 4 days, most people are off their coffee. So if you can do regular coffee to decaf, great. Then go to something called mate. Mate is a tea. I think it's the national tea of Brazil. Anywhere, somewhere in South America. But mate is a tea that has something called matein, which is essentially caffeine. It's a step down. Okay, so it's a good way to kind of start to come off your coffee and see if you could start to switch from that and you kind of get off your hook on coffee. Then you can step down to black tea, then green tea, and try to get yourself off it. But here's the thing. Why are you drinking coffee? I don't even like it. I try it every now and then. I'll take a sip. Why would you do this? It's bitter. It's nasty. Well, I put cream in it. I put sugar in it. Okay, I don't know why you got to doctor something up. But if you're going to do coffee, you can add Dr. Joe's Super Greens to it because that will alkalize some of the acid and make it a little better. There's I don't know if it's a brand name. It's called BioCoffee. And they add spirulina to it, which Dr. Joe's Super Greens is spirulina, chlorella, and wheatgrass. And so you can alkalize some of your coffee with that. Just possible start for you. I'm trying to help you out here, folks. So you can do it that way. And then you can step down. But once you start eating good, once you get your nervous system working properly, once you get your digestive system working properly, I promise you, you're going to have the energy that you're desiring and that you're trying to get from the coffee. So if you can get the nervous system working, digestive system working, and your nutrition straightened out, chances are you're going to have more energy than you know what to do with, and you're not going to need that coffee anyway. So you're going to save a ton of money. And a lot of folks tell me all the time, Dr. Joe, don't ever stop making Dr. Joe Super Greens an essential source. And I always ask why, and the response is interesting. Some people say, I can't afford not to take it. What do you mean? When I take it, I eat less food, and so I'm saving money on food. Other people say it gives me so much energy, and it may take a couple of days or weeks to get into your system, so don't take it one day and, oh, it didn't work. Got to build up this stuff. And I say, Doc, I'm saving so much money on coffee that I'm buying the Super Greens Essential Source for my friends, for my family. And I still make money at the end. So it's pretty good stuff, the Super Greens Essential Source, and I'd recommend you try it. It's on the website, drjoe.com, and that's another way to help get you off your coffee. It's an addiction, folks. An addiction, by definition, is you're doing something that adversely affects your lifestyle or your life. And coffee has an adverse effect. So if you want to go out and have some tea, great. If you really want to get crazy, you can make some ginger tea. Ginger is an anti-inflammatory. It's actually good for you. It helps with circulation. It's also an aphrodisiac, so be careful. I don't want to get blamed for anything when I tell you to do ginger tea. But there's so many different types of tea. There's a slippery elm tea for throat. I drink a lot of that in the winter because I speak a lot. And I see a lot of my colleagues in radio and television do that as well, so I'm glad that's kind of caught on. And so there's a lot of different things you can do. But if you go to my website, drjoe.com, I'm running out of time. I got plenty more to talk about. You can go to my website. We have over 1,000 hours of podcast, audio, and video. If you have a podcast service, it's called For the Health of It is the name of this podcast. You can get it there. We want to get you well and keep you well. If you have questions, and I have a blog there too. You can read my articles, see all the supplements are there. Go to my website, drjoe.com. You can send us questions. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I want to help you out. And if you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We would love to be your doctor. So go to the website, drjoe.com, and you can book an appointment right online. If for some reason there's a problem, a question, if your time slot is filled, it'll kind of tell you you got denied, we already have patients that day, call us. Many times we can jiggle the schedule around if we need to make it work for you. But stop suffering. People with neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, car accident victims, digestive issues, nutritional issues, the biggest complaint I get, and I've been doing this for 34 years, is why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I wait so long? So again, go to the website with any questions, make an appointment, get the supplements, drjoe.com. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well. You can also listen to and call into my radio show live Sunday evenings from 7 to 9 Eastern Time on WSBRadio.com and on the WSB Radio app.